Daniel stared straight into the camera, his eyes wide and a little tired, his hands shaking just enough for the viewers to notice. It was 3:07 a.m., and more than 80,000 people were watching his live stream, Unsolved Paranormal Mysteries that will keep you up at night. The chat flew so fast he couldn't even read it anymore. The only thing he could really see was his own face on the monitor, lit by the cold glow of the screen. But as he stared at his own reflection, something else started to come into view. Behind him, in the soft blur of the background, a dark shape formed in the corner of the room near the studio door. It hadn't been there when he hit go live. At first, he thought it was just his chair throwing a weird shadow, or maybe a glitch in the camera. But the longer the stream went on, the more wrong that shape began to look. At first, it was just a smudge in the corner of the screen, easy to ignore. But then the light above his desk flickered once, twice, like it was trying to warn him. The camera's autofocus clicked softly as it tried to adjust, hunting for something in the background. That was when the shadow moved. It stretched up the wall like something tall was standing there, taller than any normal person. It had no clear arms or legs, just a long, thin body and a head that looked too narrow, like someone had pressed it flat with their hands. The chat exploded in real time. "Bro, what is that behind you? Door. Look at the door. Is this staged?" It moved. Daniel could feel his own heartbeat in his throat, but he tried to keep talking, hoping it was all in his imagination. He had just started talking about his 3 unsolved paranormal cases: a missing girl in Ohio, a haunted motel in Arizona, and a small town in Maine where people heard voices in the woods, when his own microphone picked up something that did not come from him. He stopped mid-sentence, lips still parted, as a soft sound slid into his headphones. A whisper. It was gentle, but it felt like it was right next to his ear. "We see you," the voice breathed. The words didn't come from his mouth. They didn't match the audio on his screen. For a moment he hoped maybe his viewers hadn't heard it. Maybe it was just in his head. But the chat went crazy. "We heard that. What was that?" I said, "We see you." "Dude, this is not funny. Someone is in your room." Daniel felt something cold roll over his shoulders, as if someone had just opened a freezer door behind him. Slowly, he turned his head toward the corner of the room. The shadow that had been standing in the corner was gone now. But something else was wrong. The door behind him, which he knew he had locked before starting the stream, was now half open. A thin strip of darkness cut across the frame, leading into the hallway beyond. Daniel stared at that gap, his heart pounding so loud he could hear it over his own breathing. The camera stayed focused on his face, capturing every twitch in his expression, every tiny flicker of fear in his eyes. Another sound slid into the microphone, this time not a single whisper, but many voices all at once. A girl crying, a man mumbling under his breath, a woman repeating the same phrase over and over, too soft for him to understand. The chat began spamming new messages. "They sound like the stories. Those are your cases. It's the missing girl." I hear a woman saying, "Don't check the tapes." The noise felt like it was coming from inside his own head and from the room at the same time. The desk lamp above him flickered again, on, off. For a single second, the camera glitched, his image breaking apart into blocks of color like a broken video file. When the picture cleared, Daniel saw something that froze the air in his lungs. Something was standing just inside the open doorway behind him. It was only a pale outline at first, too blurry to see clearly, like a person made of mist that someone had tried to erase. But it was real enough that his body reacted before his mind could. His chest tightened. His fingers went numb on the keyboard. His computer speakers crackled, and all those scattered whispers began to rise and mix together in a way that made his skin crawl. The voices in his headphones merged into one long, horrible sound, like a scream stretched too far, pulled out until it no longer sounded human. It buzzed in his ears and seemed to vibrate through his bones. The pale shape in the doorway tilted its head slightly, as if curious, and took one slow step toward him. The stream timer hit 1 hour 12 minutes and 47 seconds. The live viewer count jumped again as more people tuned in at the worst possible moment. The chat went insane, messages flying faster than his eyes could track. As Daniel stared, unable to move or speak, The pale figure lifted its head like it was about to say his name. And then, in one instant, everything went dark. The stream cut. The screen went black. The chat vanished. The only thing left in his ears was the slow, heavy sound of breathing, still coming through his headphones even though there was nothing left to watch. Hours earlier, before any of this, everything had felt normal. Daniel Reed was 26 years old, living alone in a small apartment in Denver. He ran a growing horror YouTube channel called NightWatch Files. He wasn't a ghost hunter who traveled with high-end gear. He didn't sleep in haunted houses or break into abandoned buildings. Most of his work happened right there at his desk, searching the internet, reading old reports, and watching strange videos people sent him. His newest idea was his biggest yet, a 2-part series titled Unsolved Paranormal Mysteries that will keep you up at night. He didn't want cheap jump scares. He wanted real cases, stories with real police reports, real recordings, and real missing people. Things where the investigators had hit a wall and could never truly say if what happened was normal or something else entirely. For this first part, Daniel had chosen 3 main stories. The first was about a girl named Emily Carter, a 16-year-old from Fairfield, Ohio. She had called 911 from her bedroom and whispered, "There's someone in my closet, but it's not a person." The police arrived 5 minutes later. Her bedroom window was locked from the inside. The front door to the house was locked as well. The closet door was open, her phone was on the floor, and Emily was gone. The second story took place at the Ridgeway Motel in Arizona. Room 19 had been closed since 2004. Guests complained of someone crying in the shower when the bathroom was empty. They reported TVs turning on by themselves and waking up to find wet footprints leading from the door toward their bed. 2 guests had gone missing after staying there, each leaving their keys and shoes neatly by the door, as if they planned to come right back. The third mystery was about Haven Ridge, a small town in Maine where residents reported hearing voices in the woods late at night. Not random noises, voices calling their names. Some said the voices sounded like their dead relatives. One boy vanished after telling his mom he was going to see dad in the trees. His father had died 3 years earlier. That case left a heavy knot in Daniel's chest every time he read it. Each of these cases came with a dark trail of evidence, police reports, audio files, strange photographs, and online theories that spiraled out of control. Daniel had spent weeks digging through forums, old news archives, and interviews. He didn't just skim. He went deep, searching for tiny details other people missed. He loved that part, even when it scared him. It felt like piecing together a puzzle that no one else had time to solve. This wasn't just content for him. It was a way of trying to understand why some things stayed unexplained, why some people vanished, and why some recordings never stopped sounding wrong. That afternoon, the day of the stream, his life still felt steady. Normal. Safe. The day of the stream began quietly. Daniel made himself coffee, answered a few emails from sponsors, and scrolled through his comments. His subscriber count had crossed 400,000. He smiled at the number, but it was a tired smile. With every new video, the pressure grew. People wanted scarier stories, crazier footage, and more proof that something was out there. Deep down, he still just wanted to tell the truth, or at least get as close as possible to it. Around 2 p.m., his friend and part-time editor, Jake Miller, called him. Jake's voice came through the speaker, casual but curious. "You really going live with this one? You know what happens when you put unsolved, paranormal, and real recordings in the same title. People lose it." Daniel leaned back in his chair and told him that was exactly why they watched. He told Jake about the Emily case, about the recording the public had never heard. A retired officer had sent him a redacted copy, no last names, no address. Just the raw audio of that final call. Daniel admitted he had listened to it twice already. "She screams," he said quietly into the phone. "You can hear the closet door creak. Then there's another sound, like something dragging across the floor. And right before the line goes dead, she whispers something." Jake asked him what she said. Daniel hesitated, feeling that same twist in his stomach. "She says, 'They found me.'" Not it. Not he. Not she. They. There was a long pause before Jake let out a low whistle and told him to be careful. No fake stuff, no cheap edits. Daniel promised he wouldn't make anything up, that he'd blur personal details, and that they'd be fine. But he already felt a strange, heavy quiet settling into the room. After Jake hung up, the apartment felt even quieter than before. The soft hum of his computer and distant car noises were the only sounds. That was when the first small strange thing happened. Daniel loaded the Emily 911 call into his editing software and pressed play. The dispatcher's calm voice filled his headphones. 911, what's your emergency? Then Emily's whisper came through, shaking and afraid, there's someone in my closet. I think someone broke in. Please hurry. He knew every second of this call already. He knew when the dispatcher asked her to lock the door, when Emily said she already had, and when the faint creak of the closet door came through in the background. He listened to the familiar dragging sounds, the soft thumps, and the final whisper, they found me. The call ended. The line went dead. But this time, something new slid in at the very end. Just before the silence, another voice, very quiet, breathed a single word, Emily. It wasn't the dispatcher. It wasn't the girl. It was something else entirely. Daniel froze. He replayed the last 3 seconds again and again, leaning closer into his headphones until they almost dug into his ears. The extra voice stayed. Low. Close. As if someone were leaning right up to the microphone, whispering the girl's name from somewhere far beyond the original recording. He checked the file information with shaking hands. Same length. Same format. Same file. Nothing had changed, at least not in a way the computer could see. But Daniel knew that voice had not been there before. He sat perfectly still for a full minute, his heartbeat racing. Finally, he forced a small laugh and whispered to himself, okay. I'm just tired. Maybe I missed it before. He saved the project, pushed his chair back, and walked to the kitchen for water, checking the front door lock out of habit. It was tight and secure, but his nerves stayed high. He turned to the second case, the Ridgeway Motel. Compared to the missing girl, it almost felt lighter, like something that belonged on late-night ghost shows. Crying in the shower when no one was there, TVs turning on by themselves, wet footprints on the carpet. Still creepy, but not like a teenager vanishing from a locked room. He played a security clip again. A man in a red hoodie walked into room 19 at 10:23 p.m. The camera watched the hallway all night. No one else went in. No one came out. In the morning, the housekeeper knocked and found the man's bag on the floor, his shoes lined up beside the bed. The room was empty. Daniel paused the footage, staring at the frozen frame. Something on the ceiling near the corner bothered him, a dark smudge just above the door of room 19. At first it looked like water damage. But when he zoomed in, it started to look less like water, and more like a dragging handprint. He told himself it was probably just a trick of light and shadow and pushed on. He saved the clip and moved to his notes on Haven Ridge, the quiet town haunted by voices in the woods. The story there felt slower, sadder. A missing boy. 2 adults who walked into the trees and never came back. Someone had left a little audio recorder near the tree line one night. That recording was part of Daniel's stream plan. He hit play. Wind rustled through the leaves. A dog barked far away. Eventually a crackle came from the bushes, followed by a soft voice that seemed to come from all around the Eli. It called. Eli, come here. Eli was the missing boy's name. As always, the recording ended with footsteps running toward the MIC, the sound of someone grabbing it, then a scream and harsh static. But today, under the static, another whisper hid, barely loud enough to hear. Daniel! He ripped his headphones off so fast they nearly flew across the room. The apartment was silent again, but his name still echoed inside his mind. He checked the file details. Same length. Same size. Same everything. Nothing had changed, except the sound. Stop it, he muttered, rubbing his face. Stop freaking yourself out. But deep inside, he knew this wasn't just his imagination. Something in those recordings had changed, and it wasn't the code. It was the voices. He decided not to listen again, at least not yet. Instead he opened a blank document and began writing his script. He kept his words simple and clear, the way his audience liked. Tonight, he typed, you will hear 3 real cases that investigators still cannot explain. These are not made-up stories. They are real recorded events with real missing people. He started to add a warning about strange things happening with the files, then paused. After a moment, he deleted the line. He didn't want his viewers to panic for him. He wanted them to be scared of the stories, not of his life. By the time the sun went down, the city outside his window had turned into a sea of orange streetlights, small glows in the dark. Daniel pulled the curtains closed, shutting out the world outside. He set up his ring light, made sure the camera was in focus, and checked that his microphone reading levels were all green. He tested his internet connection twice. Everything showed strong and stable. With an hour to go before midnight, he took a shower, grabbed some snacks, and tried to calm his nerves. Those small, strange moments from earlier still sat in the back of his mind, but he pushed them down. Over and over, he told himself, I'm just tired. I'm listening too hard. My brain is filling in the gaps. At 11:58 p.m., he sat at his desk, took one long, steady breath, and clicked go live. The stream started in a low, gentle way. Daniel welcomed his viewers, thanked them for staying up so late, and joked that they probably shouldn't watch alone. The chat filled slowly at first. Messages like, hey man, love your channel, and I stayed up just for this rolled past. He smiled. His voice sounded relaxed again. For a few minutes, nothing strange happened. No shadows. No whispers. Just him and his stories. He began with Haven Ridge. He told them about the small Maine town, the dark woods that bordered it, and the way people kept hearing voices call their names at night. He explained the missing boy, Eli, and how he had gone to see Dad in the trees. Then he played the audio clip. The wind, the leaves, the soft voice calling Eli filled the stream. The chat lit up with nope nope nope, this is fake right? And I'm closing my window now. This time, the recording sounded normal. No extra whisper. No one saying Daniel. For the first time that day, he felt a little relief. Next, he moved on to the Ridgeway Motel. He told them about room 19 and the people who had vanished there. Then he pulled up the security footage. On the stream, viewers watched the hallway outside the room. They saw the man in the red hoodie walk toward the door, open it, and disappear inside at 10:23 p.m. After that, the hallway remained empty all night, the camera's timestamp slowly marching forward. Now watch the ceiling, Daniel said, turning slightly so he could look at both the screen and the camera. Right above the door. Do you see that? He zoomed in on the dark smudge near the corner. The chat flooded with guesses, stain, mold, handprint? Then one message shot by in all caps, it's moving. Daniel squinted at the mark, wondering if the viewer was just seeing things. For a second, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. But the more he stared, the more it looked like the dark mark was actually shifting, just slightly, like fresh wet paint sliding down the plaster. He had watched this footage so many times before, and the stain had never done that. He replayed the clip from the beginning. This time, the mark wasn't just moving, it was dripping. A thin line of darkness slid downward like ink or water, but the rest of the ceiling stayed dry. Okay, that's new, he said without meaning to. His heart started pounding again, and the chat exploded with accusations, glitch. You edited this. Bro, what is this? He felt that cold, invisible pressure settle on his shoulders again, like earlier in the day. He moved his mouse to switch scenes, to jump away from the motel footage and into the Emily case. That was when his own face on the stream froze and the camera glitched for the first time.